All right, well, it is 10:30, so we will make a start on this webinar. Welcome to today's session. We're talking about employee appreciation. My name is Danette Menzies and I'm the Director of Learning at Magical Learning. Each month we like to run a free webinar just to put back into the community, I suppose, and allow people to develop their skills without costing any money, only just your time. So this particular webinar that we're doing today, we're going to cover a number of different areas. So what we're going to cover on this webinar is, why is it important to appreciate your employees? What do we get by doing this? We're also going to look at the brain science behind why it is important to do employee appreciation and the impact that has on your employees' performance. And then we're going to go through a couple of simple techniques, often don't cost any money at all, that will help you to show your employees that you value them. Now, I love quotes. So the next quote, and there's a couple in this, motivating employees to work at their full potential is the main premise of successful management. And I suppose one of the things that I know is that sometimes we get confused between what's recognition versus what is appreciation. So recognition is where we are recognising what a person does. So it's about giving them positive feedback when they perform. Some of the downsides of recognition are that generally it is conditional on them performing. It is based on past behaviour and also can lead to scarcity in organisations. For example, if we give recognition through employee bonuses, there's only so many bonuses that we can give out. And this is different from appreciation. So appreciation is valuing who the person is. So it's their worth as a colleague and as a human being. Now, those particular definitions came from a Harvard Business Review article called Why Employees Need Both Recognition and Appreciation by Mike Robbins. At the end of this webinar, we provide a number of resources, and you'll see in those resources that Mike Robbins' TED Talk around employee appreciation is included, and it covers a number of areas in that Harvard Business Review article as well. So one of the things I think that's really important is that if we don't appreciate our employees, we're leaving things behind on the table, because it's our employees who help our organisations to achieve their outcomes. Now, question for you, would you like your employees to work harder? I've never had an organisation that said no to this particular one. So one of the things we know from the research is that 69% of workers have said that if they felt that their efforts were better appreciated at work, that they would work harder. So 69%, that's a massive increase in performance if we just spend some time valuing or appreciating our employees. Now, some of the things that happen is when we appreciate our employees, they feel valued. Once they feel valued, that increases their job satisfaction. That leads to organisations retaining their staff better, getting better productivity, and also it ends up in higher customer satisfaction as well, simply by noticing and appreciating our people. It's extraordinary statistics, isn't it? I've got a question for you now, and I'd love if you want to share in relation to this particular question. And it is, when was the last time your boss appreciated you at work? And in particular, how did you feel about that? Now, one of the things, again, we know from the research is that most people don't feel that they're appreciated regularly. However, I'm sure if, like me, you were ever appreciated at work, it made you feel valued, it made you feel more engaged and wanting to bring more effort because of the fact that what you did had been noticed. So it is a really simple thing we can do to improve productivity and performance. Again, we know that because of the brain science, there's a lot of things that happen around appreciation, but some of the things we know happen, and I've included the link to the source here, is that once we feel appreciated, it improves our performance, as we talked about before. It absolutely improves our engagement, and engagement globally is quite low. So in Australia, I think it's less than 25% of employees are fully engaged at work. Now imagine if we increased that figure, the impact that would have on people wanting to come to work in the first instance, and also bringing more of themselves to contribute to the performance in the workplace. The other lovely things are that when we appreciate our people, it also boosts their well-being and their health. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. So one of the things I suppose to know too is that the greatest psychological impact we get or effect of appreciation is things such as the happiness that we feel and the other emotions that come up. And this is whether we give appreciation or whether we receive appreciation. It's linked to tribal days. So we know that back in tribal days when the cavemen walked the earth, there was the ability that if a tribe appreciated one another, they tended to be kind to one another, which created safety. So the tribes would work together to survive. In tribes where there was more like criticism, lack of appreciation, it tended to be each person for themselves, and those tribes tended to die out pretty quickly because there wasn't that safety. So once we feel appreciated, it brings that sense of safety, lowers our stress, improves our sense of well-being and also our health. The other thing it does is it creates within the teams that sense of paying it forward. So I'll help you. I don't need you to pay me back. Just pay it forward to someone else in the team that needs some help. And it really does bring that collective, we're in this together mentality versus each person for themselves. So again, some really good outcomes from simply appreciating our people more. So again, you can see there are a lot of positive outcomes. So people generally feel more positive, they have higher self-esteem, they tend to be more relaxed because they feel safe, they're more optimistic, and they're more social, and they create more pro-social interactions. Pro-social are where we do stuff that doesn't just benefit ourselves, but benefits others, including the whole of society. So those types of interactions can be things like volunteering, donating, caring, sharing, helping, collaborating. All of those are things that we want to see in high-performing workplaces. Now, in terms of the neuroscience or the brain science around why we get these impacts from appreciation, the part of the brain that really relates or is fired when we provide appreciation is a part of the brain called the hypothalamus. It not only controls how we feel in relation to appreciation, but it controls our bodily functions such as eating, sleeping, and drinking. It controls the dopamine, which is our reward neurotransmitter, and it also impacts on our metabolism and our stress levels. So the thing with dopamine, which is one of the things that the hypothalamus regulates, not only is it the reward neurotransmitter, when we get rewarded for doing something, such as we get appreciation, it also encourages us to take action. So dopamine rewards us and encourages us to do it again. So one of the things is if we're focusing on what our people are doing well and we're appreciating that they're doing things well, they are far more likely to do them again. So that creates a virtuous cycle where we appreciate the person, appreciate what they're doing, and then they go back and want to do it again. So again, it creates those really good behaviours in the workplace. Really like this one, Shawn Achor, and I refer to his book at the end of the slides in the resources. By denying the light of praise, which is around appreciation, we extinguish it. By bending the light towards others, we magnify it. Shawn Achor's most recent book is a book called Big Potential. And in it, he talks very much about how if there's only one of us who we're focusing on, well, one of us can only achieve so much, but together we can achieve so much more. So by not only appreciating what we ourselves are doing, but by appreciating others, we magnify the impact through appreciation. So let's look at how he talks about providing praise, or in my instance, I refer to this as appreciation. So some things to be aware of. Don't do comparison praise. So that is saying, well, you were the best speaker in the room, for argument's sake, because that's comparing you to someone else. The best praise is when we hear, because you did that, this led me to changing this behavior. What that tells us is the impact of what we've been doing. So all of us love to be appreciated for the changes that we've helped people to make through being a role model. The second thing they talk about is focus on the behaviours you want. If any of you are parents, you'll know that if we focus on the behaviours we don't want, we tend to get more of them. It's the same as adults. We want to focus on what are the behaviours that we want our team to bring to the workplace. One of the things in Big Potential, there was a study done of a number of young people who had worked on a cruise ship. Long days, long hours, and very few breaks. And they looked at, well, what created that as a good experience for some people? And the biggest thing they found was that the best experience came when praise was received by those people from their direct manager. The thing is, our brain focuses when we get good feedback from our managers. What happens too is that it then tells the brain, focus on doing more of this. So if we want excellence, the idea is to focus our people's brains on excellence. So catch them doing the things we want them to do and appreciating them. Now, that doesn't mean we don't give feedback when behaviours need to change. It does, however, mean that we need to train our brain, rather than always focusing on what's not being done right, is actually to take the time to focus on what our people are already doing right and appreciate that. The other thing is, most work nowadays in the workplace is not done just by one person. There is often support people behind that one person. A lot of organisations, their reward schemes are based on someone winning and other people losing. As more and more work is done collaboratively, the focus on providing not just praise for the person who's out the front, but the whole collective team makes more sense and certainly increases the impact of appreciation. So praise everyone, not just the one person. The other thing is, and I love this, I got this from a book called 101 Ways to Appreciate and Reward Employees. And it was a really simple way of empowering people to appreciate one another. This particular organisation gave everyone a whole stack of smiley faces, and they were like stickers, which you could put on each other's desks and workstation areas. The idea behind it was, when you collected or got given so many of those smiley faces, you could cash it in for different rewards like movie tickets, big prizes such as overseas travel, etc. What this organisation found, however, was that, one, it was really effective because it allowed everyone to demonstrate that they appreciated one another. And it also rewarded those quiet achievers who often don't receive much appreciation. They just get on with the job because people would see that maybe they hadn't been given a smiley face today, and so they would give them a smiley face. The funny thing that happened for this organisation was, however, that they thought they were going to spend a lot of money because people would cash in those smiley faces. It turned out that they didn't do that at all. People liked the physical evidence that people were appreciating them, so they were not keen to hand those smiley faces back in to get the actual reward. So it ended up being a win-win for the organisation. People were happy and it didn't cost as much as they expected. Now, the next one, unlock the hidden 31. There's statistics that say that about 31% of your workplace will be people who are positive about your workplace. However, they're not expressive about that positivity. So there'll be some that they really love your workplace, they're out there and they're telling everyone. However, there's a whole stack of people who actually really enjoy your workplace, but they're not very expressive in sharing that. So 2 simple things you can do to help that is, first of all, demonstrate yourself as a leader by being expressive about appreciating others in the workplace. And the second one is provide those hidden 31% with tools and language to enable them to be able to express the appreciation they have for the workforce. And the last one there from Big Potential is, don't just praise what's happened, praise to what can happen. So it's about praising or appreciating not only the work that's already been done, but also appreciating the potential work moving forward. So the person's potential to be able to achieve more and do better. I really like that one, because when we say, imagine if you keep working on this, what you'll be able to achieve, that puts our brain in a state of then looking for ways to grow and improve. The phrase imagine if is just a really powerful one that can help boost future performance as well. Now let's look at some really simple tips. The first thing is, not everyone likes to be appreciated the same way. So please make sure that you take the time to understand your people's preferences around how they like to be appreciated. There is a book called The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace. And those 5 languages, they talk about, some people really like words of appreciation. So they can be written words or they can be spoken words. Not everyone likes that, but some people will. Other people will like quality time. So that's their leader or their manager taking time to sit with them one-on-one, share their experiences, coach, mentor them. The third way is, some people like receiving gifts. Again, it doesn't have to be big things. It can be small things like movie tickets, etc. Other people really like acts of service. So they like to pitch in and go and do community service and stuff like that. So that might be a reward for them, giving them half a day off or a day off to go and do community service while they're being paid by the organisation. And a number of organisations do that type of work. The last one is physical touch. Now, obviously with the coronavirus and stuff like that, and obviously in some workplaces, physical touch won't be appropriate. Pat on the back sometimes can be appropriate. It's just that some people really like having that type of reward. So don't just use your preference, consider those 5 different approaches. Some other simple ways to make it really personal are people's birthdays. We all love our birthdays. So recognising and appreciating that. The other thing is work anniversaries can be another one. When we are speaking about what we appreciate about our people, talking about what we value around or about them, so that they understand what it is that they do that we appreciate. So there's some simple things we can do to make it personal. If you just provide a generic approach, it will work for some people, but not everyone. And I'll give you an example here. I was doing training at an organisation, and we were talking about how people have different preferences in terms of motivators. And there's a model called the SCARF model by David Rock. And in that, he talks about some people are motivated by status, some are motivated by certainty, others are motivated by autonomy or relatedness or fairness. Anyway, one Easter holidays, just before the Easter break, a team had been working really hard. This team was only a very small team, 3 people, the manager and 2 staff. The manager decided what he would do is give both of the staff members half day just before Easter to go home early. Now, one of the staff members, as soon as he announced that, was like, yes, straight out the door. The other one got really stressed. Now, when we were discussing this particular scenario, I said, I'm pretty sure that person was all about certainty. And with certainty comes following the rules. And if they perhaps perceived you, being the manager, as not having the authority to be able to give that leave. So in that instance, the second person didn't find that appreciation something they wanted. It actually was something that caused them stress. That's why it's really important to understand the person and what are the things that motivate, or what are the ways they like to be appreciated. Now, we are human beings, and one of the things we love is when things are simple, just works much better with our brain. The other thing is we love fun. So workplaces where there is fun tend to be more high performing than workplaces where there's not a lot of fun. Things we can do in this category are obviously celebrating things. We can have team games, team trophies. Sometimes as a manager or a leader, you might provide something like a lunch or morning tea, afternoon tea for your team. Even asking your people, how could we make our kitchen area more fun and more productive for people, and getting staff to provide suggestions around that. Some organisations will provide staff appreciation holidays. How cool is that? And they might encourage people to bring in an animal for a day. So if they've got dogs or something like that, or their children, they can be things that are simple and fun. And again, this depends on the organisation and what the employees find is something that they feel appreciated by. The other thing that we can do is volunteer as a team and show our appreciation and gratitude back to our community as well. Now, the third thing is around coaching and mentoring. And this is really about showing appreciation through growing our people. This would include having coaches, whether it's a one-on-one coach or a group coach for your team. Can include mentoring your people or getting mentors for your people. It can be sending your team or members of your team off on educational things such as conferences, training courses, etc. And it can be as simple as having what we call learning lunches. That is where maybe once a month, one member of your team picks a TED video that they think is relevant for the team's growth, and the organisation will generally buy lunch. It can be sandwiches, just small finger food, and the team would watch, or the organisation would watch a TED talk, and then there would be a couple of questions asked to get people to reflect and grow. That's a really simple way, again, of showing your people that you appreciate them and you want them to grow. The last technique is one that is often overlooked. And it's a real shame because it's free, and it is one of those things that when it gets said to us, we go, yeah, that feels really good. So there is a group called Sonota Consulting, and they did a survey which said that only 51% of workers were satisfied with the recognition that they received after a job well done. So it's just over half of our people. Simple word like thank you for doing that. I've noticed that you really concentrated on that particular task. Really appreciate that. Takes less than 30 seconds, has a massive impact in terms of people feeling engaged, more productive, etc. Some other things you could do, thank you notes. From time to time, we will send thank you notes to clients of ours. Like to send thank yous to our staff. They're fabulous. It can be as simple as putting a post-it note on someone's desk saying, thank you so much for what you're doing. The other thing is creating potentially, and I know one of my friends who's in a really amazingly high growth organisation that he founded, they have a team gratitude wall. So as people walk into their organisation, and they're across the world, so in each office, there is areas where people can write sticky notes and put up there about employee gratitude and appreciation. The other thing we can do is perhaps keep a weekly gratitude journal or a gratitude journal for each staff member that is in our team and share that with them from time to time. The thing we know is when we do gratitude, which is part of appreciation, it increases optimism. It has been shown to decrease depression. And the wonderful thing is it helps us with sleep. So it calms our brain, which allows us to be able to sleep better, which brings us to work the next day far more effective. Simple thing, just saying thank you, whether it's through a gratitude journal, through a thank you note, post-it note, etc., all have a great impact in terms of our people feeling appreciated. And the thing is, it's a renewable resource. So saying thank you to one person doesn't mean that you don't have the capacity to say thank you to another person. What it requires, however, is for us to be aware of opportunities to say thank you. A lot of people will say to me, I'm too busy. This is a really important thing to do for your people. You'll get more productivity. Most important, you're doing the right thing because you are encouraging people to bring their best selves to the workplace. So 4 really simple things or tactics that you can do to be able to improve or show your people appreciation. So firstly, make sure that it is personal to the individual. Try and make it as simple as fun as possible. Think about ways to educate your people, growing your staff through appreciation. It's a great way. And obviously the simple thing of saying thank you. The way to develop the best that is in a person is by appreciation and encouragement. Charles Schwab said that particular one. Now, I've got a fun fact / tip for you, particularly at the moment with the coronavirus going. There was a study done in a number of hospitals around use of hand sanitizers. And obviously at the moment, we want to encourage people to be washing their hands so that we don't share those germs. They found that when there were warning signs and live video monitors placed by hand sanitizers, the use of those sanitizers went up by 10%. What they found was far more effective and increased the use of hand sanitizers by 90% was when, in this particular instance, there was an electronic system that the moment they used the hand sanitizers, it immediately recognised and praised the fact that they'd used it, increased that by 90%. Isn't that extraordinary? So when we focus on what we want and we appreciate it, whether it's through electronic system or whether it's just someone saying, great job, thank you so much for what you do for us, that impact is just astonishing. And again, most times it doesn't cost very much money or any money at all. I am curious, what are some of the things you're going to work on in terms of employee appreciation moving forward? Some of the things that I, having done the research for this particular workshop, I want to create a team gratitude wall. Our team is remote. So one of the things is how we do that electronically. So maybe when we come into our team meetings each week, there's some little gratitude / appreciation notes so everyone knows that they are really appreciated. It's just a simple thing to do. One of the things I like to do is share helpful resources. So Mike Robbins, who I referred to his Harvard Business Review article earlier, particularly around the difference between appreciation and recognition, he's also got a TED Talk. So the link is on there. There is some statistics in the second article. And if you're not sure, how do I language employee appreciation, there is some great quotes there in that next article by O.C. Tanner. Highly recommend O.C. Tanner's work. They do some fabulous work around culture, employee engagement, employee appreciation. Very much encourage you to have a look at their website. And the book that I referred to and those dot points around praise came from Big Potential by Shawn Achor. It is a fabulous book. The first time I read it, I put so many sticky notes on the pages because of the great points that I actually ran out of sticky notes. So very, very helpful. I will let you know that next month, one of our most popular topics, managing upwards, which is one of those things that everyone wants to know. How do we do it better? We'll be running that on Wednesday, the 8th of April at 10:30 a.m. There is a list of all of our free webinars on our website at that link. Please feel free to share them. This is just part of our putting back into community. So we do one every month to try and skill everyone up. So I would like to say I appreciate everyone being on the webinar today and thank you so much. And I hope you found this really helpful, and feel free to email us if you do have any ideas for courses that you'd be interested in us running webinars on, etc. And we would love if you followed us on social media. We share most days of the week information on whatever our topic of the month is. This month it's employee appreciation. So we'll have a lot of articles, videos, infographics, etc. around this topic this month. So I hope this has been helpful. I wish you a wonderful rest of the day and rest of the week. And thank you so much for everyone being on this call. Have a great day.